Hello. All right. So today we are going into what we have been learning with OpenClaw. So this has taken us also by storm. I know this is very popular on the internet. What I am going to be going over today is what we've been learning ourselves, what we've built, and hopefully giving you ideas if you're going to be building your own OpenClaw setup. If you're interested in autonomous agents and you're looking for someone to help you build them, this is what we do as well. So plugging for that. But yeah, so this is either helpful if you're want to be doing this yourself, or if you're interested for someone to help you with it. Okay, so let's go through it. So OpenClaw, first of all, what is it? It's to make an autonomous agent. It's very powerful, but that comes with risks because you're letting this agent do work on its own. You have to decide on how much autonomy you want to give it, but the autonomy and the power is very powerful, and we've been extremely impressed so far. So the things that we've been learning, so we're going to be talking here about choices around systems, the architecture of the agent, things to consider around the server, memory and knowledge management, skills, model selection, functionality workflows, and then I'll also be talking about future things we're working on next. So memory. So I'm going to start with this. So there's different ways that you can create knowledge within your agent. For us, we're fortunate that we've been storing like crazy everything that we've been learning, thinking, doing for the last 2 years or so. So every single one of our meetings is recorded, all our strategy is documented, all my video transcripts are recorded. Everything you can think of that is data we're storing. And so this gives us a really good baseline for knowledge so that we're able to build one of these agents really quickly. It didn't require a lot of knowledge development. Instead, it's more just around skills and process is where we had to put a lot of work. But that said, you need to figure out how you're going to give your agent its memory and its knowledge. So these are the 6 options that I'm aware of right now for enhancing memory on your OpenClaw. So you could have none, which is bad, and that's the default. You can have structured memory folder using OpenClaw's ability to organize data in a tree. You need to set that up a little bit. It requires some steps. It's not that complicated, but that's kind of the designed intent for OpenClaw once you configure it. You've got, oh, that's the built-in memory search. Sorry, the third one. The second one, that's just creating folders and then letting it know that it can go through those subfolders. The fourth one is the one that we're actually using. It's Obsidian with QMD. I'll come back to that. There's another option which I learned about called Mem0. I don't like this one because you are passing all of your queries through a third party who is then injecting in memories where they're pertinent, but I don't like the idea of someone else looking at every single one of my queries. It's just too much dependency on an external provider. And then the last is you can actually build some kind of a SQL database and then, make that be semantic or vectorized or, whatever you want there. That's even more hardcore. We ended up going with QMD, which with Obsidian. So I like it for a few different reasons. One, so first of all, it's suitable when you don't have to have a lot of tabled data. You're not talking about thousands of pieces of entry or organizing things with tables with different properties. If you're doing that, you really need to go SQL. But for us, it's more just a collection of different pieces of information. Here I'm showing a screenshot of one of I think this is not necessarily fully current in terms of all the folders, but this kind of gives a good snapshot of the structure that we were starting with in the beginning. So we have information, the rules folder, that one has a lot of things pertinent to our business. They're coming straight from rules from a local environment. Like rules as in like, these are the things that the agent needs to be looking at, like what's our business, who are our customers, what's the customer journey, and so forth. Positioning also goes deeper into that. But then each of the agents also has their own folder, their own knowledge tree. And the nice thing with QMD, you can build in a semantic search for the AI, and you can index that every evening at 2, 3 in the morning. And then the agent can use that. There is a way also to extend the QMD further so that you can also vectorize the data, but it does require either a GPU or more RAM on the system. So we're waiting a little bit until it gets larger, and then we'll probably enable that as well. But for now, it's really good. And the thing I really like a lot about the Markdown files, it's very portable. And then we have our own system which stores and propagates the knowledge, and we're able to just sync it here, and then also store new knowledge and information, and keeping the knowledge and information of our business integrated between all these different platforms, because OpenClaw is just another flavor of our knowledge being put to application. That's what this next slide actually is showing out a little bit more detail. So I have here, my 2 years of knowledge data that's been stored. I work a lot off my laptop. We use Git to just kind of synchronize the knowledge. That knowledge can then be used to launch independent agents for our team. So other people in our team can talk to basically my virtual representative of myself, virtual CEO, that's accessible. But then here for this OpenClaw environment, we have a read sync as well of the same knowledge that's pulled in as a reference base point. Okay, so in terms of the model selection, we've been testing a lot Anthropic, Google, Z.ai as well. We've been staying mainly around these three. I am interested in the new OpenAI model 5.4 in particular for coding, but since our agent isn't coding right now, we've been leaving it off. We've been pretty successful with just these three. I did notice, I don't know if it's going to improve in the future, but Google was just completely unable to understand what it was doing and where it lived. When I would have arguments with it, I would say, you have memory access, and it would say, no, I don't. And then I would say, you can create a cron job, and it says, no, I can't create a cron. It was just, I don't understand why. And this was with 3.1 and smaller Flash models. They all struggled. So just had to abandon Google completely. Anthropic is extremely solid, especially for like the thing with I don't know why Anthropic's models are so good, but with OpenClaw, but they really understand the ecosystem that they're in. They understand how to also improve themselves. We're also using Claude Code to help build out additional functionality or to lock down the system. And it all just works really well. You do have to kind of teach it that it's not using a Claude.md file. You have to be very specific about that. But other than that one little instruction, and so it really helps to tell it, go find the OpenClaw documentation, load it in, store a reference to it, or store, a temporary copy of it, and then use that to build out features and functionality. But once you do that, Claude Anthropic is really good and really good at following instructions consistently. When I tried using Z.ai mainly for cost saving for things that I felt were low risk, it's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper, honestly, but because Anthropic is kind of the most expensive provider right now, as far as I know, for, especially with Opus 4.6, it's very expensive. But Z.ai, they're very cheap models. They might be as smart as these other models in terms of passing benchmark tests, but where they really fail is in consistency of constant, do they follow instructions to the letter consistently, efficiently, and also escalate when they need to. Nothing's beating Anthropic right now. So that's just been like what I've learned from, from this build out. So another one tip, really big one, definitely do this right away. Make sure you have different models per cron job. There is this existing bug right now with sub-agent delegation that is just not working. It works fine if you're not doing cron jobs, but on a cron job, I think there's a I forget the bug report, but there's a bug as of this recording with OpenClaw that if you're using a cron job, you're not going to get delegation of agents to be consistent, or it might make a call and never get the answer and then it hangs. So rather than trying to wait for that fix or fix it ourselves, what we're doing is we're running cron jobs at different intervals to move things across the pipeline. So it's one job, one task per cron job to move things through a workflow. And because you can set a model, for the agent in each cron job, you're able to do cost optimization of the jobs. So take each job, figure out if it requires thinking. If it does, you're probably going to want to be using an Opus model or a GLM5, something like that. And if it's not a thinking task, maybe you're fine with Sonnet 4.7 on GLM, or maybe you can get by even with a GLM 4.7 Flash or a Haiku model from Anthropic. But the other thing too is you want to make sure you have a different channel per agent to talk to them. The more we get the system set up, the less I actually talk to the agents directly. And I think this is important because you want them to be following a set structure for their job. And the only times that like most of the conversation that the agent's having with me is just reporting this is done, this needs to be escalated, this needs your approval, or whatever it might be. Or they're just giving me report, like there's a weekly report too that you're going to see that the SEO agent does. His name is Scott. Those kind of things, I want to see them appear in the chat console. But as long as you're not having thinking type conversations with these agents, you don't need to have them on high performant models within the chat conversation. So even though Aria, our writer, is doing very high thought processes of writing using an Opus model, she only talks to me using a GLM 4.7 in Discord. And when I need to improve her, I don't talk to her to improve her model directly. I actually improve the models using Claude Code through the CLI. So it's a different kind of way of building these models out, and I think it's a lot better. All right, so this is the kind of the agents that we have right now. These are our core. So Sven, this is our Claude Code instance, which is building the whole ecosystem and improving it and locking it down. We have Leon, which is doing auditing of what's going on. So cost auditing, API calls auditing, our agents following process type things, and then flagging if they're seeing issues. So Leon is kind of the control agent right now. Then we have 3 other agents. We've got 2 content production agents, Kai and Scott. And then we have Aria, who's the writer. Kai is doing more of a CRO strategy implementation. So thinking about how do we get better conversions? How do we make the experience better for customers? Is the language matching our customers, expectations and their problems, stuff like that? Scott is more externally focused than internal. Kai's more internal. Scott's looking at what are keywords are trending, what's trending right now on Reddit, what's trending on LinkedIn, what topics should we talk about, how are we doing for our SEO, and also AI search ranking, stuff like that. And then both of these produce output of activities, things they want Aria to do, and Aria does both the content writing and website publishing. So the Leon, I already talked, or Leo. I think his name is Leo, but I wrote Leon here. Sorry about that. Or no, it is Leon. Leon. All right. Leon is a crab that if you look up, or sorry, not a crab, a lobster that was saved from a store. There's a whole YouTube channel of Leon. You should definitely check him out. He's really cool. He passed away recently, but he was really awesome. All right, so in terms of cost monitoring, what Leon is doing, I've already mentioned this a little bit. He's looking at the API costs, how many times we're calling the API to catch if we're doing excessive calls, so we can optimize those. And his reports are trigger-based, as well as he gives proactive recommendations on an interval. So this is really important to be doing that part of it. Claude Code, I already hint at. Sven here is Claude Code. He's doing more of the agent building, agent optimization, agent analysis, a deeper analysis of how things are going, more of a dev sysops role. So he's also looking at file permissions and things like that, locking things down, working on the EC2. We have this built on an EC2 instance on AWS. And so this is not, the disadvantage is Claude Code is something that's manually done. So this is the thing that we're doing to optimize and build out the system. We're probably going to need to interface with Sven less and less as time goes, but Sven is really kind of like the architect builder AI that's building the entire ecosystem. Then in terms of security practices, so here are the things that are really important to be thinking about. You do want to lock down your agents. So with the agents, it's really important to think about what are my vulnerabilities in terms of prompt injection. So if you have an agent, for example, that has an email inbox account, and then that creates a huge vulnerability because if anyone sends an email to that inbox and the agent reads it, you're creating a risk that that email it reads could have some instructions for it to follow for the agent as it reads it. And who knows, maybe that agent will start doing the things that are in that email. So I would be very careful about giving an agent that has access to an attack vector the complementary skills it would need in order to execute things that are dangerous. So that's scoping your agents is really important. And how can you create a control barrier or limiter between these two infrastructure points if you're going to be doing that? And then also, you don't want to give your agents skills or abilities beyond what they need to be doing. It's good to put them into containers like subfolders, for example, only let them work within that ecosystem. If you're going to be giving them access, in our case, to be able to write to the web server, how do you control those scopes? Do you allow your agent to change certain tables? You can block those things. So for example, there's no reason our agent should be able to change anything related to the contact form and where those emails are sent. We don't want all of a sudden customers who are contacting our website to send emails to our competitor instead of us because we didn't notice the agent changed that crucial piece of information, right? There's all these weird ways that you could suddenly be vulnerable. Otherwise, there's traditional things to think about. So firewall the server, we have it set so that we can only actually log in from a very specific IP number. So it's a very tight firewall level protection. And then our server can only connect directly to our web server. So these kind of things really help to lock it down. There's no email boundary risks and things like that. Other things to think about, though, also are your dependencies. So there's a lot of dependencies with OpenClaw, and that is a lot of vulnerabilities. So a lot of people are forking the Git repo of OpenClaw, and then as your system becomes more and more critical, I would say at a certain point, you need to be extremely cautious of just even updating your OpenClaw and updating certain plugins or skills or things like that. So you might not even be putting those skills and those dependencies through their own audit, through community. Has the plugin thing been peer reviewed? How long has it been in the market? You might even want to wait before you apply an update. Of course, if some of these updates are security vulnerability patches, you need to think about that. Maybe those things you do want to apply right away. You're taking a risk either way. I mean, in that case, the risk maybe is even greater if you don't do anything. Depends on what you're vulnerable for. Other thing to think about too is the model itself you're using. I mentioned that Z.AI is very, very low cost, but it is a model from China. There is risks in that. Maybe you're comfortable or not comfortable with that. There is, someone else is reading your prompts, whether that's a US company, a China company, a French company. As soon as you're using another model provider, you're doing that. If you wanted to be completely off the internet, you could run, of course, a Llama model on the server itself or some other version of a locally installable model. You're switching to a different kind of cost. Now you just need a stronger computer in order to run that, for example. You're not quite going to hit the level of Opus, though, in my opinion, unless you're really paying a ton of money. And for a lot of what we're doing, we really do need, if Opus wasn't around, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I think for us, for the kind of things we're trying to do, that is an unavoidable external dependency is going to be the Opus model itself from Anthropic. All right, I can keep talking about this, but let's keep going. So in terms of the workflow, so we have, there's different ways for the agents to talk to each other. We ended up doing, so this is not right now fancy GUI interface for humans to look at. This is a pure agent-to-agent communication system. Each agent has an inbox so that they can send essentially internal emails to each other, but they're not really emails. They're just notifications that are little text files that, when it wakes up, it checks, do I have a message from another agent? Yes, it reads it. And it might say something like, I finished my process, or back to you, or hey, I'm missing something, so that's how they do that. Otherwise, they have a kind of a pseudo Kanban structure. There's each work order has a draft, approved, and done state. Certain work orders need to be approved first. So that's why they're in the draft folder. If certain tasks are auto-approved, they go straight into the approved folder. And then the agent that does the execution will check for everything and approved and just kind of knock them all down. We do prioritization based on risk assessment, not on urgency. So it's a different way of looking at it. And our risk domains are low, medium, high. Anything that's low risk, we don't need any human approval. The agents just go ahead and do it. So that could be something like changing words on the page, changing the title, or changing the meta description. We consider those to be pretty manageable, low risks. Things that are medium risk are things that have to do with layout changes to the page, a whole brand new page, changes to current core pages like the home page, the about page of our website. Those are they're minimum medium risk by default because we want to check it before we approve that, right? We're still not at the point where I 100% trust these systems to work 100% autonomously. So those kind of things need approval. But for that, we have a different rule. The agent doesn't directly edit the page. It makes a clone of the page, submits it for review. I look at it. Most of the time, it looks great. I say yes, boom, and then it just does the edit on the live page and gets rid of the duplicate. If it's high risk, we don't have, I mean, honestly, in the last couple of weeks, we haven't had any tasks that are high risk, but high risk would be things that are, we need to integrate with something external. We need to build a whole external thing first. Like we can't even really do a draft or a clone of the thing first because we need to do some kind of integration, or we're switching from, I don't know, ActiveCampaign to HubSpot, completely different CRM connection or something. That would be high risk task. So, and then, yeah, these tasks are just then sequenced using cron jobs between them. All right, so for the quality content control or content quality control, we do have a step-by-step process. Something that is very efficient is, or effective, I should say, is to don't forget that agents need to talk out loud, just like they need to talk out loud when you're having an AI conversation with an agent directly. So what we do is we actually build into the process opportunities for these agents to speak out loud about what they're doing. This is important for multiple reasons. One of them is that it gives the agent a chance to think out loud, which greatly increases the quality of its work. It does that on a different asset than the final deliverable sometimes. So it might be its own kind of separate analysis document of the task it's doing. Then you can plan a separate instance of the same agent that looks over its notes that it wrote, analyzes what it said should be improved in the work it just did, and then it does a second draft where it fixes those things. Anything that is failing to be consistent, to have excellent quality, or in our case, to achieve the level of quality of tone of voice in the documents that we're looking for in these articles, greatly is improved by having that kind of a split secondary process. You can also extend that to a research phase and have research being done independently of the writing, things like that. It's very helpful. So split up tasks, especially ones that are having issues. If you see an issue with the consistency, think about splitting right away. In terms of the images, so we're using Nano Banana 2, which is great at stock photography, people, and so forth. I find it still pretty poor when it comes to creative imagery, artistic things, illustrations, digital art, stuff like that. Midjourney is, in my opinion, just so much better at that. And also Midjourney just has a more natural style that I find fits our brand. For speaking for us internally, a client might, actually want that kind of stock photography look of Nano Banana. So we're using Nano Banana right now, but if Midjourney ever gets their act together and gets an API, actually modernizes to 26, because I don't think any company without an API is going to survive, but that's a whole other video. But yeah, so Nano Banana has an API, Midjourney doesn't, so we're using Nano Banana. So Midjourney is losing our business right now, but yeah, they can recapture it if they don't sleep forever on that. So here's some of the skills we've added. I don't know if this is complete because there's a lot in the ecosystem, but perplexity, really important for doing searches. It's really good for seeing occurrences of certain businesses or brands appearing in the search, and for doing research. And it's just really, I don't think we would be, you need this. Perplexity API is really important. I hope they stick around for a long time because it's really good. We're using keywords everywhere for SEO research. They are extremely cheap. You're paying something, but I think it's like $7 a month as long as you're within the token limit. And if you compare that to SEMrush or Ahrefs, they charge you $500 to $1,500 a month to get API access. Compare that to $7 for keywords everywhere. Again, here's another business that doesn't understand that the 2026 economy is all about agents using APIs. I know that this is only in the last 2 months this has really become big, but if these companies don't wake up, they're going to just be eaten out by little companies like Keywords Everywhere, because why would we ever pay $500 a month for an API when we can pay $7? Anyway, I'm going off track, but Keywords Everywhere for the keyword research. For the actual web page browsing, we were using Brave. We switched it to Tavily very recently, so I still need to confirm that it's actually a straight up upgrade to Brave. My understanding is Brave is still better for SERPs if we're trying to just check on who's appearing in the top results. So maybe we'll keep Brave for just that. And that's our current instruction to the AI. Use Brave for that. We're using Firecrawl for doing scraping of our and other websites if we want to just gather a whole bunch of pages from another website as part of the tool for the agent when the agent wants to do that. We're using Google Search Console to make sure that we give the agent the ability to see how well our website is performing. Google Analytics for the same purpose, but this is more for behavior on the website. And then Nano Banana I already talked about. We're also using Playwright when the agent needs to see what they're doing. So if the agent is doing page layout, it won't get the layout right if it can't see what it's doing. And then all of a sudden you need to help it and give it screenshots. Like, no, like we're trying to make the whole system be fully autonomous. So it can visualize itself. It checks on mobile. It makes sure that the pages look good. That's what Playwright does. It has Git as well. So there's, Git updates that the agents do to store, and, it's kind of like a backup system really in a way. And then we also have a lot of not priority. We have a lot of custom skills that we've built. These are things related to processes and steps. Sometimes these are attached to Perl scripts or that the agent runs when it's trying to perform a certain task. That would go way beyond the scope of this video. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of custom skills too. Things that we considered and we either won't add or will add. So active campaign is something we may add later if we want the agents to also start managing the actual people who submit the forms. And, for example, poke me, remind me I need to call a customer who just contacted us, because it can track deals in there. ClickUp, we actually started hooking up and then decided that it was completely unnecessary and just overkill. If we want to add so it's easy. You can totally set up the system to be managed through ClickUp, which is a project management tool. But if we're going to build a nice human front to this, we'll probably just custom build it, because I don't know, the days of needing a project management tool for these things are also coming to a close. And then agent mail, we did set up an account, but then decoupled it because we decided that it was just too risky and didn't really need it. So now, these last few slides are going over more of the specifics. So Scott, this is our agent that does the SEO and AI search strategy and research. They've got multiple tasks that run at different intervals of monthly, daily, and weekly that generates actions and briefs that are then sent over to Aria to write. It uses a whole bunch of tools to do this. So it will check the Google Search Console. It'll use Perplexity. It looks at Reddit, Substack, and LinkedIn to see trends from the last week. What are people writing about? We look at our competitors too, see what posts they've been making. So we get a sense of, where's the market going? What are people interested in right now? What's the current discussion? And then we use the keywords everywhere. These last four are just the search tools I already went over. It's Firecrawl, Brave, Tavily, and keywords everywhere. Those are the main external tools. Then we've got Kai, who's the CRO and also positioning strategy, who's making sure the whole brand is consistent across the whole site. They also have access to the knowledge. That's the Obsidian icon up there in the top corner. And they are looking at Google, a little bit less things they're looking at. So it's a lot more knowledge based on us, but they're the ones mainly looking at Google Analytics. And then they're still also using these web tools. And I need to update this because they're using all the same web tools that Scott is using. And then they also make briefs of things that need to be done, but these might be different. It might be, hey, we're still missing one services page for a service that we're definitely offering, but hasn't been built yet. Or we need to optimize this service. It doesn't include some of the things we're doing now. That is, because things move so fast. Maybe 3 months ago it was accurate, but it's not accurate anymore. So it's checking these kind of things and making those updates, and it's making sure that the messaging is consistent across the core pages and so forth. It's a content strategy, and there's a lot I could talk about. We have a content strategy also check to make sure that when Aria is writing, for example, that she's not putting the same key benefits or values that we have as a business on every single page, because that's just dumb. Instead, those things are put on, that's like amateur. So instead of each page being written in isolation, Aria also has the ability to make sure that messaging that's on the homepage is not repeated on a different page unless it's intentional. So which is really a critical kind of area that otherwise these systems make mistakes on. They'll put, I don't know, for us, it's like 26 years in business, and all of a sudden it's like on every single page on the website. Like people reading that would just like mentally die after a few minutes. All right. So then we've got the Aria who's doing the writing process, and this is a multi-step. So we've got research, tone of voice guidelines, help to write the first draft, and then Aria self-reviews herself. And then once that's done and she's made her next edits, then she'll add in the images. and then she'll actually update it and post it to the website as a draft or a clone. And if it's low, it's directly posted. If it's medium, it's some kind of draft or clone. And if it's high, then she waits. So those are the things that she's doing. So we're at the end. Thanks for your patience getting through this whole thing. I hope it's been interesting, but these are the kind of the next things we're looking at. So we're still stabilizing certain tasks. We're doing a lot right now on cost optimization. Right now we're spending maybe around $2 to $5 per page that's posted with all the research. So it is very cheap, but there was a whole bunch of costs spent in the first few weeks to kind of iron everything out and to fix things, and certain tasks are not being optimized yet in terms of what models and so forth. So now we want to make sure that we're getting even more granular in terms of cost optimization and so forth, because I think we can get the service down pretty low. So we're doing a lot around there. We're doing more also around that quality control agent for that second pass. These are the things that we might be adding in terms of agents. Sorry, let me back up. So we're thinking of adding also an agent for doing social media posting. So this would be we're thinking more just like broadcasting, like, hey, there's a new post written on X, X meaning X topic, sorry, not X the platform. And so that is something that doesn't really need a person to be doing. So that's like very easy to automate, doesn't need, authentic voice and stuff like that. Low risk in terms of, tarnishing someone's reputation if they're having a bunch of AI stuff posted on their social media channel. So that kind of stuff is low hanging fruit. We also will be moving towards building an agent that's going to do the very similar thing, but for ad management, connecting to Google Ads, optimizing ads, launching new ads, optimizing, and then making work orders for Aria, for example, our writer, to optimize certain landing pages based on what we're seeing in the ads in order to increase the conversion rate. So a lot of juicy potential there as well. Our dev sysops right now is being done asynchronously using Claude Code, but we may give Leon more and more power to be doing also dev sysop works on this server, which could eventually be an agent that runs on any EC2 server to do monthly maintenance and checks on and lockdown. Then we're also working on things related to productization. More skills we might add might be the platform X. You do have to pay for that API, so we've been holding off. We may vectorize the QMD search entirely. We're also looking at maybe thinking about doing something around ARP. So ARP is an architecture that will allow the agents to monitor their own conversations, or different agents monitoring the conversation, so that we can catch the agents before they do something that we really don't want them to be doing. So if an agent got an instruction to do something that is nefarious because of an attack or just because it got confused, that kind of layer would to be a gate on that action to prevent it. So that's something we're looking at as well. And I think that I could go deeper, but I think that's kind of it. So yeah, thank you for watching this. I tried doing myself in a little invisible background here thing. I don't know if that was fully efficient as a plugin. It might look a little weird, a little floating head now. But thank you so much for watching this. If you have questions, let me know. If you're interested in this, also let me know. It is incredible how good this system is and how hands-free it is. And I'm just mind blown still. So hopefully you're also excited. But yeah, let me know if you have questions. Thanks for watching. Bye.